So this Captain, this is going to be the tutorial for the Pigeon helicopter. This was built for Alistair's helicopter build challenge. So this is going to be the best way to learn how to use the helicopter. I'm trying to keep this short and sweet so that you can quickly watch the video, learn how to use the helicopter. So let's go ahead and get started. So starting on the left side here, if we look into the wings, we have some hard points. There's going to be some modules released with this. There'll be some fuel tanks and there'll be some firefighting modules. They'll already be in place, so all you have to do is use the select tool and put them in. If they are diesel, designed to be drop tanks for this actual build, they'll automatically plumb in and feed fuel to the system. If they're for storage, for example, if they're water or if they're going to be jet fuel, you won't want that fuel to get contaminated, so they just won't have a fluid port in the tank, so you can still transpo with them. So those are under the wings for that. Got a landing light here. We've got the tilt rotors. This is designed to be a helicopter. Part of the challenge is to make a helicopter, not a VTOL. So no, this is not a VTOL. This is a helicopter. Due to limitations in the game, helicopters are much faster in real life. They can tilt the rotors a little bit more effectively, and you can get pretty high speeds out of a helicopter. In game, we kind of have a limitation with that, so we need to tilt the whole rotor assembly. So these do tilt. They tilt to about 30% or less of the full tilt, so that will give us a little bit more speed, but it still functions as a helicopter. It's not a tilt rotor. Going around the back here, my hand-drawn Pigeon. That's the namesake of this build. We have the rear harnesses, so you can rescue 2 people and bring yourself up and down from the harness. We'll look at that later. Have some nav lights up there. Big rugged gear on there. We have a door on either side. We can enter from either direction on the port of the starboard side. So let's just go ahead here and we'll look at another feature. We have the service door. So anything that moves, kind of like old cartoons, you see there's a little bit of a different shading on the doors. So there's a little bit different shading down here. You have a ground services panel. So they have these in real aircraft where you can go and hook up, for example, the ground power. You can also refuel. So we have an electrical cable anchor here. If you do plug this in, you do need to select either ground power on right here, or you have to do this square button there in the cockpit. That allows the actual ground power to go into the system. This is something that real aircraft have. You actually have to let it know that you actually want the power. So if you hook up ground power, you also need to press the ground power button. You can see the batteries, 1 and 2, for the left and right side. Those are also shown here and in the cockpit. You can also see the voltage. If we look in there, let's make sure infant electricity is now off. You'll see that they are discharging. So we're actually using up electricity somewhere in the system. And so those will show a positive when they're charging. So if you have the cable hooked up or if the engines are running, and it will show a discharge if you're actually using electricity. We also have low fuel and the fuel quantity. The fuel quantity is just going to show in the central belly tank. If you have the tanks on the wings, they will automatically be drawn into the main tank, and that way it will actually drain from these wing tanks first, and then the belly tank will be last. So you'll end up, once you start actually seeing the fuel gauge go down in the belly tank, you know you've already gone through your wing tanks. So those wing tanks go first. And then that's about it there. So we can press the service door button, close the service door. So let's go ahead and go on in. You can use the stairs, you can just jump in. And we'll close the door behind us. So this is going to be used for multiple different things, but rescue is a big part of it. So right here we have 6 seats. Have a defib and a bunch of med kits. We've got to have a couple torches there, some more med kits back here, and a couple more seats. So you have 8 seats total. We'll go over the working end in the back here. One of the things you want to do is go in the back here and close the doors before you leave. They do need to spawn in the open position. So that's the center hatch, and then you have the side doors, and that stores your rescue harnesses up nice and clean. Let's go ahead in the front. The seat auto-rotates, so as soon as you put your ass in it, it will rotate. So let's go ahead and put ourselves in there, and I'm going to turn around. Pretty simple controls here. We have space brake, main winch, up and down, 1 and 2. Go ahead and hide that. We'll go through the panel here. So the first thing you want to do is turn on the master power. That's going to give you power to the whole system. And you'll notice all the screens come up. Also, I'm going to set the parking brake. You'll notice the parking brake light comes on when the parking brake is set. Now our brakes are on. So this is that other ground power button. It does nothing if you don't have the cord connected, but this allows the power to go from the cord into the craft. So you go master power, you come down, check your batteries, check your voltage. Before we start an engine, we want to turn on our beacon. Coming to the top there, that's our fuel in our center tank. Again, like I said, if it's burning, it will burn the wing tanks first and then the center tank. And so once that starts going down, you know if you had the wing tanks on, they are now exhausted. The indicator to the right of it is going to be if you have low fuel. We have fuel valves, starters, more lights. These are all your lights across there. So we have nav, strobe, land taxi, spot, and logo. Logo will light up the pigeon on the tail, pigeons. We have rotor brake. Rotor brake will only work when the fuel valves are off and when you're on the ground. So you cannot accidentally click on your rotor brake in the air and stop your rotor. So if this was on in the air, it's going to do nothing. So once you've shut off your engines, and you're on the ground, if you want to activate the rotor brake to stop the rotors, you can do that. This is your flight idle. So right now we're on ground idle. So the engines are going to start up in a reduced power setting. That's going to help you, for example, if you land the aircraft and you're going to go, say you want to leave the engines running and go run some people off to the hospital for a rescue, you can go ahead and put it in ground idle, which is when the button is not selected, when it's off, and it will decrease the RPS. You'll burn less fuel, you'll make less noise, and there's less of a chance for the helicopter to kind of take off. It won't have the power to be able to take off. And so we'll show that later. When we want to fly, we have to click this on. Green means go. If the flight idle's not on, you're not going to be able to fly. We have temperature, 1 and 2 for the two different engines. You can run this helicopter on one engine to save fuel. For example, if you wanted to go leave an engine on while you go in and do that rescue again, you could go on one engine. It will fly on one engine. It'll be less powerful, of course. If you're running on one engine, it will eventually overheat. If you run on two engines, this will never overheat. This will not even turn on the cooling system. This runs cool enough that you don't even need the radiators to turn on when two engines are running. It's that efficient. So there are your temps for that. It also has an overheat protection system so that it can never catch on fire. It will automatically start to decrease your power. You would definitely want to land pretty quickly, but it will not let you catch on fire. You have RPM for the left engine and the right engine there. So let's go ahead and get started. So again, we want to turn on our master power. We want to check our batteries. You see the voltage is discharging because we have power on. We have the beacon on. And I'm going to go ahead and click on fuel valve 1. That's going to allow fuel to go to the left engine. And we'll click on the start. I do have a headset on the seat, so it's a little bit quieter. As you can see, left engine turns right on. We'll turn on the right engine. All right, so as you notice, they're running nice and low. That's because we're on ground idle. So again, like I was saying, this keeps the engines kind of spooled down, and it's going to make it pretty much impossible for you to actually take off. You might be able to collective up, go up a couple feet, and you'll fall right back down. So when you actually want to take off, you want to go to flight idle. Green means go. Next thing you want to do is let's look at the autopilot panel. If you want the auto hover, click AP. AP will automatically activate the auto hover. So it flies really well. Just click that auto hover on if you want that auto hover feature. That's how you get it on, is with the AP button. That's both going to activate your autopilot, making all your modes work, and it's also going to do that auto hover for you. None of these modes on the autopilot will work if the AP button is not on. That's the autopilot master. Without that on, none of the modes work. So it has that dual functionality. It allows the autopilot modes to work, and it also allows auto hover. So if you just want auto hover, just click on AP. And if it's green, it's good. All right, so the next thing we can do here is altitude hold. So the bottom here is your altitude. So it goes up, if I tap this, it will go up in tens of feet. So there's 30 feet, and I click ALT for altitude hold. You'll notice it will go down and will hold us at 30 feet. I'm going to actually go up to 50 just because 30 might be too close to the ground. Yep, so as you can see right there, it's going to hold us at 50 feet. We can change that to whatever we want. Each tap, like I said, is 10 feet. If you hold it, it will move quickly. So let's say I want to go way up. I just hold it, and it will automatically go up. So let's say I want 2,000 feet. Hold it, get it close to 2,000, and then tap it 4 times. There's 2,000. If I want to go all the way down to 50 feet, hold it, get it close, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we've got 50 feet again. So that's kind of a nice feature so that you're not having to tap it too many times, but you still get that 10-foot granular change on there. We'll go over some of the other modes in the autopilot here. So next one we have is heading. Heading is going to go ahead and it's going to point you to whatever heading you set. All right, so we're going to, as you see, we're back to 50 feet. So let's go ahead, and this is my autopilot system, cap autopilot there. This is your heading tuning knob. So if you press on the right side of the knob, it's going to go one direction. If you press on the left side, it's going to go the other direction. Same thing with the altitude. Right side is up, left side is down. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to press and hold, and if you look, we get a heading bug. And so this works like the jet that I fly. When you press the button, it will light up a digital readout, and it will also put that dashed line. After 3 seconds, it disappears, just like the real airplane I fly. The heading bug will stay. So let's say we want to turn to 180. So again, this one does the same thing. We can tap it. It does 1 digit at a time, or we can hold it. So 180 right there. The heading bug is over there, and now when we press heading, it's going to turn to 180. Okay, and it will hold that heading for you. The heading takes precedence. So if you're in nav mode and you want to override the heading, you can also put it in nav and heading mode. The heading will take precedence over nav, so keep that in mind. All right, so let's go ahead and deselect heading. Next thing we're going to do is nav mode. So nav mode is really pretty spiffy. Let's go ahead and go up to about 100 feet. And this is great for just navigating in general and also for station keeping. And what station keeping is the helicopter will automatically stay over the GPS coordinates we give it. All right, so let's go ahead and let's put it right there on the X of the runway. So we'll come down here and we'll set a waypoint, okay? And now if we look, we have our large keypad. We need to click that. We'll do input waypoint and submit. Now it's not going to do anything until I select nav mode. All right, when I select nav mode, the nose of the helicopter is going to turn towards the waypoint. That's what this cyan, this blue line is. That's your bearing pointer. You'll notice the bearing here will change to whatever heading it will take to go over there, and then the helicopter will face it. There's a couple bits of logic in here. Once it gets close, it will take a snapshot of the heading it's supposed to be going until it gets real close. Then it will lock in the last heading, and it will face the direction that it was last facing. So let's go ahead and we'll click nav mode and we'll head over there. So you see the bearing pointed to where it's supposed to be, and we're going toward the point here. And so this is going to fly us over there. Could use a little PID tuning. And once it gets close, it's going to start to slow down. Now I'll show you how the rotors tilt a little bit to give you that extra speed. Once you get close to the waypoint, the rotors are going to automatically stop tilting to help you slow down. So you notice the helicopter is now going to get stopped right over that waypoint where we set it. So if you look, we set the waypoint, and bingo, there it is right over the waypoint. Now because the wind is very calm, it's going to point the last direction that we were facing. If the wind is really strong, you always want your aircraft to face into the wind in a strong wind. That's because, for example, let's say that we had a wind and it was off the side of us. Well, in order to stay over this point, we'd have to tilt the helicopter to the left, and we'd have to pitch the nose down and be at a kind of a weird angle to be able to maintain our spot over this waypoint, because the wind would try to push us away. So we'd have to bank left and pitch down to be able to keep over this waypoint. So what we want to do is when the wind comes up, it will automatically read the wind, and it will automatically face into the wind. And so now instead of having to bank and pitch, it's going to just have to pitch to maintain that heading. And it's also, you see, so it's turned itself into the wind, and it's going to face the wind automatically. So that's really helpful for a number of reasons. Say, for example, you're trying to go down the rescue harnesses. If the helicopter is at a weird angle and it's tilted, the harnesses are going to come up at an angle, and you might get stuck in the doors. So by having it nice and level like it is, you see how level it is, it's going to be really easy to go up and down the harnesses. So let's go ahead and we'll crank the wind up. Part of the requirement for this challenge was 100% wind, so let's go to 100% wind. And as you can see, absolutely no problem. It sits beautifully in 100% wind. And so this allows you to do some really nice, easy rescues here. All right, so let's go ahead and get out of our seat. And we'll go over the harnesses. So this is a good time to do it in 100% wind. This is when you'd be doing your rescues, right? So you have to be careful with the order you do things here. And I'll show you what I've learned in a long time playing career are the best ways to get on these harnesses. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up the side hatches. Those are them right there. All right, so now we're going to open up the center hatch. That's right below us here. This harness here, it has a bunch of controls, and we can see that on it. So let's go ahead. The way this winches work is we have to press down. They're going to start going down. In order to stop it, we want to press up once. And on the harness here, this harness controls the winches. 1 is up, 2 is down. So you can either use these buttons here on the wall, or you can use the 1 and 2 keys on this harness when you're actually sitting in it. So some people will try to jump in the harness here and lower themselves down, and then they get stuck or they can't move their character. I'll show you the best way to do this. So what you want to do is you want to click it down, and you want to let it to get in the doorway like so. So once it's in the doorway, press up and stop it. All right, so that, again, that coincides with 1 and 2. So now we're going to press F, and we're going to get in the harness. So now you can see we're sitting dangling out of the harness. If I press 2, we're going back down. Now, the speed of the winches is variable, so when we're close to the aircraft, we don't want to be coming up too fast or going down too fast so we don't get stuck or hit the vehicle or cause any sort of glitches. Notice how the winches just sped up. As soon as we get about 5 meters from the vehicle, the winches are going to speed up. So that's going to make it take less time to go up and down. So as you can see here, there's 3 total harnesses. We always have to be in the center harness in order to be able to control it. And if you look at the harness there, 1 is winches up, 2 is winches down, and 6 is that hatch, that center hatch. And I'll show you what we need with that when we go back up. So in order to stop it, right, 2 goes down, we just tap 1 and it stops. All right, we jump out of the harness, we run around like a crazy person. Again, this is 100% wind. You notice how stable it is. We run around, we get our 2 people. We put 1 person in this harness, which is labeled, it should be labeled, is it not? Starboard harness. This one is the port harness, and this one here is the center harness. You always want to operate the center harness. The center harness is the only one that can control the winches. So you put a person in the starboard, put a person in the port, you jump back in the center one, you press 1 to go up. All right. And so now it's going to take us up. It's going to go up at maximum speed. And then once we get close, it's going to slow down again to make sure we don't glitch into any blocks or anything. And then you see a lot of people, they try to jump into a seat or they try to grab a handle. This is my method. I think it works best. And so what's going to happen is once we get all the way up to the top and the winch stops, we just close that hatch underneath us. And so we can just jump off and stand on it. So we'll go ahead and we'll get all the way up in there from first person here. At some point I might add radio control in case you fall down, you can do it. All right, so the winch just stopped. Now, if you listen carefully, we're going to press 6 and that will close the hatch. All right, we heard the hatch. Now we press F and bingo. You notice the hatch is closed, we can walk on it. All right, so you notice there are connectors here. Now, these will not connect until we shut the winch off. So the winch is still trying to go up. Now, this is a good thing. We can go and we can grab the person we put in this harness, and we can go throw them on a seat. We can go back here, grab the person off the harness, throw them on a seat. Then when we're ready to close the doors and get out of here, right, we just went up, so we tap down, and now the winches are off. And bingo, that allows these to connect. Now you see they connect? All right, so that allows us to press the side doors, and notice they fold up nicely inside, so they're not flapping around. I've made many of these types of vehicles, and oftentimes you see the harnesses flapping around in the breeze and they look silly. These are all nicely enclosed inside. All right, so you put all your people in your seats, and now you're ready to get out of here. All right, so we're back in the quiet of the harness here. So let's go ahead and shut the brakes off too. All right, so let's go ahead and go somewhere. So let's go ahead, say we just did a rescue. All right, we're gonna go ahead and let's increase our altitude to say 800 feet's fine. And next thing we're gonna do is put in our next waypoint. And I'll show you how the rotor, how these tilt rotors work. Again, it's still a helicopter. It's not a tilt rotor or a VTOL. It's a helicopter. They just tip a little bit to give you greater speed, and it's automatic. You don't have to do anything. As soon as you start accelerating forward, they're going to tip for you. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to shut the wind off here, and that will help us get there a little bit quicker. All right. And so now if you notice it's turning, that's going to turn back to where the bearing was because the wind is now calm enough. So again, it will point to where the bearing's pointing unless the wind is high. Then it will point to the wind. It's automatic. You don't have to do anything with it. So what we'll do here is, let's say we want to go to the hospital. All right, so here's the hospital, and we want to land on this road. So let's go ahead and set the waypoint for the road. And we're going to go ahead and input the coordinates, and it's going to turn us. There's the bearing pointer, right? It's going to go right to where the bearing pointer is pointing. You notice the waypoint. Let's go ahead and make it so we can't see it. All right, and we're headed toward the waypoint. Now, what's this magenta line? This is what we have in real jets and other aircraft using these PFDs. It's called a trend vector. And that's telling you where in this case, the speed is going to be in the next 10 seconds. So you notice when we were accelerating, it was really tall. That told us we were going to be way up there in 10 seconds. As we slowed down, it started to decrease. All right, so here's your speed. As you can see, we're going about 70-something knots. This is your attitude indicator. So you have pitch in degrees, you have your roll here. This is your altitude. So we're at 805 feet. Here's your compass with a digital readout. We went through the bearing pointer. Again, you also have your heading bug. So we can see digitally, and we see the dash lines. As soon as 3 seconds expires, the dash lines and the digital readout will go. That's how my plane works IRL. All right, we'll go ahead and we'll descend down to, say, 200 feet. It's pretty good for now, around there. And we have a vertical speed indicator. So this is going to digitally tell us that we're going 1.5. So that's 1,500 feet per minute in a descent. The arrow will tell you you're going down. If it's going up, it means you're going up. All right, pretty simple there. And again, if we wanted to override the heading, right, we could do that. So let's say we put the heading over here. The heading takes precedence, so bingo. It's still going to try to take us over there, but we're locking in a heading. So we don't need heading mode right now. Let's keep it in nav mode. All right. Right here is your transponder locator. So this turns your transponder locator on. It's going to have a flashing light every time it finds the traffic. You have silence the beep. I don't have it hooked up to the speaker right now, but that would shut off the speaker. And then we can turn on our own transponder. So that's what those are for. Looking over here, we have padlock release. That's part of my locking system for helipads for my ships. So when I land this on a ship, it will lock, and then I press that button and it will unlock from the ship. We'll go over the lights in a second here and the heating. So we're gonna let it go over the road, and we're pretending we're doing a rescue here. So once it gets close, if you notice we get a flashing light, that means we're within half a mile of our waypoint. It's gonna go ahead and it's gonna slow down. And then it's going to go over the point, and it's going to stop. And remember what I said, it's going to lock in the last known heading to the bearing. So there's the last bearing right there. Now, say for example, we want to line up with the road, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to actually go to heading, and that's going to override the heading. And so now, as you can see, we're lined up with the road. Let's actually go a little bit further to the right here. And we'll line right up with this road. And now we can start to gently bring ourselves down. Now, again, we can fly this. We're going to hand fly in a second. We'll hand fly over to Komodo there in a second. But as you can see, we can bring ourselves down all the way down onto the ground. Bingo. So now we're ready to do finish the rescue mission. So what we can do here is, remember, when we're on the ground, let's go to ground idle. All we do is shut off flight idle. Red means stop, green means go, so we're on the ground. All right, so let's go over a couple things while we're here. We have our nav lights. Nav lights are green on the right, red on the left, and white on the rear. We have our strobes. Those should be on every time you're flying. As you can see, we have strobes. Those are our beacons, right? Those should be on every time we're flying and when the engines are on. We have landing taxi lights. So as you can see, we have those in the wings and on the ground there for landing and taxiing around. We have our spotlights. Our spotlights are actually under our nacelles of our engines right there, as you can see. So that helps you when you're landing vertically. And then we have our logo light. Our logo light is our little pigeon that will be lit up at night. So if I go ahead and switch this over to night, you can see our pigeon is all lit up there. So that's our logo light for the vehicle. All right, so that's what all the different lights are. So that's all the switches on the top there. Last couple to go over here is we have a heater. So as soon as I get out of the seat, watch, it's going to rotate. And there's our heater there. All right, so that's going to heat up our area here. So in case we're in the cold weather, we can turn on a heater. All right, and then we have some lighting here. And so let's go ahead and go to night again. All right, here's night. And if we press this button, it says cockpit lights, white, red off. So if we click it once, we get, it will go, it should have been red, but here's red. All right, so there's our red lights. These are good for night. And as you can see, we have red lights all in the back here and in the cockpit. And we can dim them so we can make them even dimmer if we don't want so much light. We can also make them brighter. So you just hold that and it goes brighter. We can also click it again and it switches it to white lights. So if we want it brighter, we can go brighter. If we want it dimmer, we can go and dim these all the way down. And if we press it one more time, it is off. All right, so that is the lighting there. So let's go ahead and we'll go back to day. All right, so we would go ahead, we grab our people, we go out and we do our rescue, right? We run down there, we get them, and we're ready to go again. All right. So let's go ahead and we're going to hand fly. I'm going to show you how the tilt works. The tilt is automatic. You do not have to do anything, okay? And so one thing we'll do here is let's go ahead and we'll put in our waypoint for where we're going. So we're going to go over to Komodo. And I'm going to set the waypoint. Actually, let's not do that quite yet. Let me shut off nav. Let me shut off altitude. Let me shut off heading. All right, so all of our autopilot is off. Remember, when the AP master is off, all the modes are off, but AP master means the auto hover is on. So if you want auto hover on, leave this lit up green. I'm going to go ahead and set in the coordinates for there. All right, so that's up and over there. And I'm going to hand fly now. So remember, before we try to take off, we need to go ahead and click it to flight idle so that we can fly, right? Every time you want to fly, you need it in flight idle. And now it's starting to increase the RPS of the engines, and we are taking off here. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to show you how these tilt. It's real simple. All you do is start tilting your nose down like you're a helicopter, right? And as you speed up, you'll notice it's automatically going to start tilting them forward. And you can see them rotating. See them rotating? And so what this allows you to do is fly this much more realistically like a helicopter than the way Stormworks does. So you notice, see how I'm like nice and flat? My nose isn't 20 degrees down. I'm not looking at the water. And so by them, they auto tilt. Now, in order to stop, it's pretty simple. So we'll go to Komodo here. Again, all I did was gently tilt my nose down. I don't have any of my autopilot modes on, just the auto hover is on. Okay, so now I want to stop when I get here. I'm going to stop like I would in a normal helicopter. All I do is pitch my nose up. That's going to cause my rotors to go backwards. But that's also going to cause me to gain altitude. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press down on the collective, the down arrow, and I'm going to just gently come in slowly, and as you can see, we're coming in slowly. The other thing that this system has is an auto rotation stop. Notice how the rotation stopped? That's because we got close to the waypoint. If I go ahead and zero this out, all right, that will stop. So let's go ahead and just go ahead and start flying again. Watch what happens. So the rotors will start to tilt forward again automatically to speed us up. You can see them tilting. And that's based on a percentage of your speed. So the faster you're going, the faster they will tilt. So if you're really pitching your nose down, trying to speed up fast, they will help you speed up fast. If you're trying to speed up slowly by pitching your nose down slowly, they will slowly rotate. So it's very intuitive and natural. So let's say we want to go back to Komodo. So I'm rolling and yawing at the same time here, and we're going back to Komodo. It's very stable. It feels heavy like a big aircraft, like it should, from all my experience flying aircraft. All right, so now as we come in, what we want to do is we want to press down on the collective, and we want to pitch the nose up. Now that's going to change our thrust vector, and we're going to start to slow down. So notice the left on our speed tape. See that magenta line coming down? That's our trend vector showing we're slowing down. The more you pitch, the faster you're going to slow down. So see how we've slowed down to 0? Bingo. Now the rotors should not be tilted anymore because we've slowed down to 0. All right? So good. That's all you have to do to stop. Again, auto hover's on, but I'm hand flying this. If I want to shut auto hover off, I can go ahead and turn it off, and I can just do this myself if I wanted. But let's go ahead and put it on for a second. And let's go through this. This is my old bearing panel. I'm going to make a new one here in a little bit. It's showing bearing. That's the heading to get to the waypoint. So right now, our waypoint is 0, 0. If you look at the map, 0, 0 is beginner base. So right here, where is it? Right here is your beginner base. That's 0, 0. Okay. So right now, the bearing is at 078 is the heading to get to that beginner base. The distance is 7.2 nautical miles, and the time is 0. And the reason the time is 0 is we're not moving. So if we're not moving or we're going away from it, it's going to read 0 instead of reading a negative number. It never reads negative. If it's going to be a negative number, it just reads 0. It's going to tell us how many minutes it's going to take to get there. So if we're facing there, it will say it's going to take, say, 3.2 minutes to get there. This right here will be a light that flashes. When we're within half a nautical mile of our waypoint that we put in here, it's going to flash at us telling us, hey, you're getting close, okay? These are some buttons here, so you can click on this one. That's radio. That's something that I have put in there that really you're not going to use because sometimes I put these ground stations. You have to tune in the radio frequency, and you can navigate to them. That's not really working on it right now. Click it again, and we have the camera underneath us. So you could use, let's say it's nighttime. You can use the spotlights. Let's turn on the reds. And let's go ahead and turn on the spotlights. The spotlights are now on, lighting that up underneath you. And you could go ahead and come down and land. I don't have the FLIR hooked up, but that would be FLIR. I might hook that up at some point. But you can see our spotlights are starting to shine off the ground. So you can use that when you're landing as something to look at to see exactly what's underneath you right there. And bingo, we're landed. All right, so that's what that's for. You can go through that for the camera. The other one here is right in front of your nose. So if you see, we have a trailer out there. So as you're going around, you have this right in front of your nose. And you can see what's right in front of you. So if you want to come in and get real close to this trailer and not hit it, right, my nose is up, I can't see the trailer, but if I look at the camera, I can see it. So that's right directly in front behind the screen. So it allows me to get really close to something like this trailer that might be right under me, and I can see it the whole way in. So we go, and let's get nice and close to the trailer. Bingo. So that allows you to see right in front of you there and not hit it. Okay? So let's see if there's any other features here. So we got a couple more. Let's go ahead and back up just a touch. Pretty much done with it here. So let's go ahead and go back down. We'll land. All right, so remember I said you want to put it in ground idle when you're on the ground. This will reduce the amount of power. So if you look, watch the RPS comes down. And I'll kind of show you what ground idle will do. So you have to remember on your own to shut that off. Don't forget. And so now ground idle has brought the RPS down. We're burning less fuel. We're making less noise. And now watch what happens when I... So now my hands are off. It's not trying to take off on me. If I press up on the collective, I can't take off. So I'm holding up on the collective. I don't have enough power to get off the ground. So this is good so that you can land and do stuff around base and leave the engines running. Put on your parking brake. Now your brakes are on. Okay, let's play with the bearing pointer real quick. So right there we have 0 there. If you go ahead and you put a waypoint right in front of you, right here, off to the left just a little bit, and you enter that in, and you go ahead and you select nav mode, it points to it. I'm going to change that probably so it always points to it, but see how the nav is going to it? So it will point to whatever is selected on your nav there. Okay, real simple. All right, last thing here is we'll go over the rotor brake. That's the only thing we haven't really gone over yet. So, again, I can click the rotor brake on, nothing happens, right? We wouldn't want the rotor brake coming on when we're flying. We don't want the rotor brake coming on when the engines are running. We only want the rotor brake to come on when we're stopped and the engines are stopped. So it does nothing right now. So what we want to do is we want to shut our engines off. So we shut our engines off by shutting off the fuel valves. And you notice, here come the engines. And once our engines are down to 0, right, we can go ahead and we can enable the rotor brake. Rotor brake's enabled, and bingo, it stops them. All right, so now the rotors are stopped, and we can go ahead and go outside. And we can fold them if we wanted. If I can ever get up there. There we go. There's one. And there's the other. All right, so we have our rotors folded, so that's nice and compact. All right, so that's the Pigeon helicopter. The other thing you can do is, I do have some modules for this. They're not really done. I'm going to post them eventually on there, but they do just go under the wings. The fuel tanks are super simple. You just, they're already in the right spot. You use the select tool, paste them under the wings. There's a firefighting module. I'll do a separate video on those modules. But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Bye.